Hi, I'm Jaclyn.
And I'm Courtney, and this is Caffeinated Crimes.
Welcome back to an episode that's a little more recent than you're used to, because we usually record like 4 weeks ahead of time, and now we're kind of on like 2 weeks since, we're still getting back into the swing of things post-baby. So, here we are a little more current, but we also don't really have any current updates to talk about. So, it doesn't really matter. And you're welcome, and this is a wonderful intro. I'm very proud of it.
I kind of like the 2 week, a little more current,
Yeah.
Because sometimes I felt like we'd talk about stuff and it's like, man, this is so irrelevant by the time it comes out. So a little bit closer, but not too close. Just enough time to...
Yeah, or even, jokes that we make or perks of the week that by the time the episode comes out and people are responding to it, and I'm like, wait, what are you talking about? And I have to remember what it was that we talked about because, it had been like a month, so...
Which makes me think also my perk of the week in Natalie Holloway Part 2 was that I'm running a half marathon. And before that even came out, which is today when we're recording it, I'm not running a half marathon this year anymore. That got delayed due to personal reasons until next year.
Yes.
But I am still running because I was like, well, maybe I'll set little goals in between since I'm already doing this thing. So
Exactly. So November 2022, your girls are running a half marathon. So just be on the lookout for that.
yeah, I'll have all my toenails for my wedding, which is the one thing my mom said to me when I said I was going to run a half marathon is don't lose your toenails before the wedding.
And I said, you probably will. Or maybe that's just me. I don't know. If there are any other distance runners out there, please let me know if you lose your toenails or if I'm just weird. I don't know. I lost all my toenails. Speaking of toenails, it's a good segue. Courtney's going to come visit me here very soon, or has already visited me by the time you guys are hearing this. But either way, we will both be fully vaccinated, and I'm getting my first pedicure in over 2 years, which is super exciting because I was marathon training 2 years ago, so I didn't want to get a pedicure then because those poor people. And then after the marathon, I didn't have toenails, and then COVID happened. So,
yeah, I told you guys about my pedicure when I had it. It was amazing. I can't wait for the next one. I will say with losing toenails, I did do extensive research on how to not lose my toenails.
Oh.
I bought special socks. I did, because they say to do cotton socks, specialty Adidas or good brand cloth socks because it puts more cushion between you and the pavement, and to basically lotion the shit out of your feet before, after, all the time. So that's what I was doing, is just everything I could, because I was like, I'm not losing my pretty toenails. And they also said it could be your shoe size being too small, too big. Literally it sounds like you have to have everything perfect. Sounds miserable.
Gotcha. I did have some good quality cotton socks, but I did not lotion, so maybe I will try that next time.
Yeah. But then also some people were like, well, no matter what, I just lost them. So this one person was like, I've been training for 2 days and I've already lost my pinky toe. I'm like,
oh my gosh. I mean, I don't really have... Sorry, you said pinky toe instead of toenail, so now I'm just imagining his pinky toe falling off. But to get too much into my personal life, I don't have a pinky toenail, so it doesn't really...
Mine just fall off frequently, so I just kind of paint the skin.
Yeah, same. I guess I do have one. It grows a little bit, but not enough that you can. Same.
Okay. Anyway, now that we've been talking about toenails for 4 minutes, I just realized we have some business to get to. We have some Patreon shout-outs. We have 2 Patreon shout-outs. So thank you to Jamie and Mary Alice. Thank you so much. We are so happy to have you. Jamie already joined our Discord, so thank you, Jamie. All other Patreons, please follow suit, and let's all have conversations, I guess, about toenails. You can join in instead of just replying in your head when you're listening to us.
Except, please don't be that kind of person. If you guys have a toenail fetish, we don't need you to join the Patreon to talk about toenails.
Do people have toenail fetishes?
Oh, I'm sure they do. I don't know for a fact. I don't. I've never.
I know there's a foot fetish and your toenails on your foot, but just
I'm
toenails?
pretty sure there's probably a fetish for everything. Okay, this intro has just gone off the rails.
Yeah, it's... Anyway, thank you so much to our Patreons. Please come join Patreon. We'd love to have you. We have a lot of good bonus content, a lot of good goodies and stuff like that. So we try to make it worth it. So come please join.
Yes, definitely. So our sources for today's episode is an episode of See No Evil, which is season 2, episode 12, a couple of CBC articles, a Calgary Herald article, and also a Global News article. On January 17th, 2008, in Calgary, Alberta, which is in Canada, Officer Russ Williamson was out patrolling during the graveyard shift with his partner. It was a very cold but really quiet night, not a whole lot going on, just kind of cruising around in case they're needed. And around 11:30 p.m., they received a call from a woman named Christine who said that her friend and roommate had been beaten and raped. So police arrived at her house, and they're confused to find that her friend isn't there, so Christine is there alone. So Christine tells police that her friend, Daniel Garcia, had called her and said that the roommate, Arcelie Laogan, had been attacked. So she had called 911, but she didn't have any additional information to provide to police because this other guy is the one that said that she was supposedly attacked. So kind of strange situation starting out here.
Yeah.
So she said that Arcelie worked downtown and usually got off work around 10 p.m. and usually got home around 11 p.m. She told the police that she didn't know the name of the place where she worked, but she had been there before and she could take them there. So while Christine is leading police to Arcelie's workplace, another 911 call is received, and this time it's from Daniel Garcia himself. So he says that he believes Arcelie called him while being attacked. He said it was really loud and confusing, but he thinks that she said she was in a park downtown. But he said there was so much going on, he wasn't quite sure. So police arrive downtown and start searching the parks, while Officer Williamson goes to Arcelie's workplace, West Canadian Graphics. So the company is a large printing business and works late hours, and the owner confirms that Arcelie did work that evening and left around 10 to 10:30, but he's not sure of the exact time or if she left with someone. He just knows that she was there, and then between that time she wasn't anymore. So Williamson notices that there is a security camera outside and asks the owners to send in the footage as soon as possible. So at this time, around 15 officers are continuing to search the downtown area on foot, and they tried calling Arcelie's cell phone, but she doesn't answer. So 41-year-old Arcelie Laogan had moved to Calgary from the Philippines 4 years before to build a better life for her and her family. She worked 2 jobs there and was studying to be an accountant. And her husband and 5 sons were back in the Philippines, and she was hoping to make enough money for them to move and be with her soon. She'd actually already filed an immigration application for them, so that was all in the process. She was described as a quiet, shy, hardworking woman, and she had a lot of friends in her local church group. So the search was called off around 5 a.m. when there are no signs of Arcelie. The search team was on the way back to the police station when they received a call that a woman's body was found on a walking path behind a church. So that church was actually nowhere near downtown, but it was near Arcelie's house. So after they arrived, police did positively identify the body as Arcelie Laogan. She had been raped and beaten to death, and some of her clothes were found away from her body. So West Canadian Graphics quickly turned in the surveillance video footage, which shows Arcelie leaving work at 10:06 p.m. So investigators returned to the scene where her body was found in the daylight. There's a lot of blood around her body, but it doesn't appear that she was killed on the walking path. And there is a lot of trash nearby, but it's hard to tell what's litter and what actually might be connected to this murder, so they just have to bag up everything just in case.
That makes me think of the Heyman Lee case.
Yes.
When they were at the park and they were just like, there is just trash everywhere and nobody knows, is this connected? Is it not? There's no way to know.
Yeah, and it's you don't want to leave something that could end up being super important, but at the same time, it's you're going to have techs spending hours and hours going over every piece of trash in a place that she may not even have been killed, and there's just no connection. It's really not a great situation. So they do find a cell phone that appears to have been deliberately smashed, and they suspect that it is Arcelie's phone and the one that she used to call her friend Daniel during the attack. They also noticed that her purse was not on her body or near her body, so they believed that the killer took it with them. So police turned to Arcelie's family, friends, and colleagues to find out if she had any enemies or if anyone would want to hurt her. And when they interviewed Christine, she said that Arcelie doesn't really have much of a social life. All she does is go to work, go to church, and then come back home. Christine said that she's working really hard to bring her husband and sons to Canada. So they're like, she really just keeps to herself, doesn't even know that many people. It's really unusual that someone would want to hurt her. So police then interviewed Daniel, since he was the one that supposedly heard the attack. He said he was home cooking when Arcelie called him around 11 p.m. He said that she was hysterical, and she said that she was being raped and beaten. He said that he heard so much screaming that it was just loud and confusing, and then the phone went dead. He said that he tried to call her back, but there was no answer. So instead of calling the police, he decided to go downtown to look for her himself. And he says that he called Christine while searching and asked her to call the police. So the police are obviously suspicious at this point because it's really odd for someone to go looking for their friend themselves when they suspect they're being attacked instead of calling the police. So they decide to have Arcelie's phone records pulled, and they find that she didn't make any calls to Daniel that night. So when police confront him with this information, he becomes agitated and says that Arcelie was his friend and he wouldn't do anything to hurt her. But then the phone company calls back and says that they made a mistake, and Arcelie did, in fact, call Daniel that night, which is a pretty big mistake to make in this situation.
Yeah, pretty big.
Which I'm glad that they realized it was a mistake, but I mean, what if they didn't? And how many other times has this happened where that has been used as like pretty concrete evidence that someone was where they said they were or weren't or whatever, and they're like, oh, it could just easily be a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
So they now traced Arcelie's movements from the time that she left work. So she commuted by train to her work, which was approximately 4 miles away. The train station was 2 blocks from her office, and they were able to pull surveillance footage from the train. She is seen entering the train station at 10:09 p.m. carrying her purse and another white bag. She's alone and doesn't speak to anyone. She is seen waiting on the platform for about 10 minutes before her train arrives, and she gets on that train at 10:19 p.m. So the train to the station near her house should be approximately 10 minutes. Footage does show her walking off the train at that station at 10:29 p.m. as expected. And this station is approximately half a mile from where her body was found.
So they are interested in 2 men who get off the train after her and walk in the same direction as her. So they look at the earlier train footage to see if either of these men got on the train at the same time as Arcelie. They did not, but they did find something interesting with one of the men. He is seen getting off the eastbound train at 10:05 p.m., then getting back on it a minute later. So the eastbound train is the one that Arcelie would get on at the next station at 10:19 p.m. So they rewind the footage further and see him walking onto the train platform at 9:56 p.m. And at about 10 p.m., while Arcelie is still at work, a young Asian woman passes by him. He pulls up his hoodie before she gets to him, and he appears to hide his face while watching her pass, then pulls his hoodie back down after she passes. Which is like, why are you just hanging around a train station putting your hood up when people pass you?
Yeah. Like
kind of weird.
Little strange, and why are you getting on and off the same train? That's kind of weird.
Yeah. So they switched to footage that shows the street exit from the station where Arcelie got off. A few steps behind Arcelie, they see the man following her with his hoodie pulled over his face like he did before. They are able to freeze the footage on the man and see him carrying a hard hat, and this hat was covered in many unique stickers. So investigators realized that a hard hat with the same stickers were found in many pieces of evidence collected at the scene where her body was found. So the stickers were identified as belonging to a local iron workers union. So investigators go to the iron workers headquarters and show them a photo of their suspect. And the owner said he believes the man is Jason Watson. And Jason also had a brother named Christopher, who is an iron worker. And a background check revealed that both Jason and Christopher had been both arrested and charged with assault previously. So clearly not their first run-in with what you doing with the cops.
I guess.
So by comparing the photos, they believe that the man on the video was actually Christopher. So they do search Christopher's house and find a jacket that matches what the suspect in the video was wearing. And investigators notice what appears to be blood on the sleeve, and Arcelie's purse and ID were found in Christopher's trash can, so he is immediately arrested. And the blood was also later confirmed to be Arcelie's.
So pretty cut and dry at this point.
Yeah, he did not cover his tracks at all.
Nope.
He just laid it all out.
He's like, here you go. It was me. Here's all the evidence right here.
So 24-year-old Christopher Watchison pleaded not guilty to first-degree murder and went to trial in April of 2010. On the stand, he said the night of the murder, he had drank 24 beers and a bottle of Southern Comfort before smoking salvia, which is an herb that can produce strong hallucinations. He said he smoked more than the recommended amount, and I'm like, but you also drank probably more than I recommended, like a whole bottle of Southern Comfort and 24 beers.
Like, I would literally be dead. I would probably be dead with either one of those, not both.
Yeah, I don't know if I could do it. I mean,
I think you could do the
24
beers at least.
24 beers I could definitely do, or the bottle of Southern Comfort. Would I look good at the end of the night? No. But both, I think I would be getting into alcohol poisoning territory.
I think so, for sure.
So he said, that he'd smoked more than the recommended amount, and he was very disoriented while riding the trains downtown. Christopher said he saw Arcelie on the train, and he was so high he thought Arcelie was his dead mother. He said he ran after her calling Mom, Mom, and when she turned around, he realized it was not his mother, but he couldn't explain himself to her. So, logically, Christopher then ordered Arcelie to take her pants off, because that's what you do, right? When you think you see someone and it's not,
Yeah.
You don't just be like, oh, my bad. Wrong person.
When you think it's the ghost of your dead mom, you for sure tell her to take her pants off. Totally.
So Christopher said she was shaking and begged him to not rape her. She mentioned her husband and 5 children. Christopher then raped her anyway. He said it didn't feel like he was the one doing it. It was like he was having an out-of-body experience. He claims that he then snapped out of his haze he was in and realized what he had done. He told her to run away, but then saw that she had called a friend and was screaming. Christopher said that he had heard a kick to the head could cause amnesia. I guess. So he started kicking her in the head so she wouldn't remember that he had assaulted her, and he said he never meant to kill her.
That's not very logical, because I think it's more likely that a kick in the head would kill someone than just cause amnesia. I mean, even if you kick them hard enough to cause amnesia, you're probably going to cause permanent brain damage at the same time, in which case you still intended to do great bodily harm. What?
And a kick in the head is still probably an attempted murder charge on top of raping her. So, like, what? So, a drug expert did testify that the effects of the salvia would have worn off by the time of the rape, and he could not have still been having hallucinations at that point and would have understood what he was doing. So it's like, even if he smoked more than the recommended amount, he would not be having hallucinations at this point. Mm-hmm. And the judge said that he believed Arcelie put up more of a fight than Christopher claimed she did, because her clothes were found away from her body.
And her friend Daniel did say that there was like so much screaming that it was really hard to tell like what was going on. So I'm sure that also points to the fact that she like fought back as much as she could.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Christopher also testified about his childhood and said he was bounced around between both parents and was in and out of foster care. His mother was stabbed to death in 2001 when he was 14 years old, and he began drinking alcohol heavily after that, which, yes, that is a sad childhood, but that does not even begin to excuse murder, because
nope,
that's a lot of people's stories, and they don't murder people.
Yep.
They don't do it. Christopher Watchison was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole in 25 years. After her death, Arcelie's husband and son's immigration application was denied, and Arcelie's sister did try to refile it, but the application was denied again. So at this point, she'd already spent about $5,000 and was just not able to pay that again. So Arcelie's husband and children remain in the Philippines, which is like, come on, Canada. Can you not just like...
Right?
Just let them go ahead. Like, let them in.
I just thought that part was just like such a sad, like, final slap in the face to her family, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Like, she came to Canada, like, trying to pave the way and everything. And then it's like... I'm sure you live with the guilt of, like, what if she just stayed? Like, what if, you know, not that it's their fault, but, you know, like. No. So, in 2010, Christopher was actually granted leave from the prison to get an updated passport photo. So, apparently he needed a new photo to update his Indian status card. So, a lot of people are like, why does a prisoner need an up-to-date Indian status card? And Canada's Indigenous and Northern Affairs Department said it was to access health benefits, which don't health benefits just kind of come with the prison?
Yeah, like, can you use external health benefits while in prison? Is that a Canadian thing? Like, can you use your good health?
It's also universal health care, so it's not really like you need to be like, let me sign up for Humana, and I have to keep my Humana up to date until I get out. It's very weird, and it appears a lot of other people are asking questions, too.
Okay, yeah, that's very strange.
If you're Canadian and somehow know about this, I mean, let us know, because I'd love to know. So, to renew his status, he needed 2 passport-style photos that met the criteria for passport specifications. So, that includes the photos need to be taken by a commercial photographer within the last 6 months against a plain or light background with the photographer's name and date of the photo on the back. So, you can't just go to Walgreens or do it yourself like you do here in the U.S.
You think if they were, like, that specific and a prisoner really needed that they could just have a photographer come into the prison and do that. I mean, that seems like a pretty simple thing. Okay.
It's coming.
My bad.
So, his escorted temporary absence was granted on September 28th, 2016. So, the prison was asked why someone just couldn't come to him. And they said they were not able to take the photos that meet the standards. So, don't know. They estimated he'd probably be gone for an hour, but they do find him dangerous and capable of extreme violence. But they're still letting him take this escorted leave for a picture. So that was just like the most recent update on Christopher. So I wanted to include that, and I thought it was just kind of weird and what the heck are you doing, Canada?
Yeah, that was a very odd procedure. I don't quite understand that.
And maybe it is more common than we think, and we just don't know because we don't know prisoners in Canada. But from the article I read, a lot of people were asking, like, why does he need this? Why can't you do it? Why? Like, this doesn't make much sense.
Yeah, I know other countries are more lenient with their, like, escorted leave policies for, like, funerals or, like, someone's dying or things like that. I know other countries are more lenient with that than the United States, but for a passport-like photo, the whole situation seems weird. Like you said, like, one, why would he need access to those health benefits while in prison, while serving a 25-year prison sentence? It's not like he's about to get out or, you know, he's in jail for 6 months or whatever. But then, two, also, you can't have a photographer come to the prison to meet those lighting standards with their name on. Like, it's specific requirements, but nothing, like, crazy. You'd think that they could bring someone into the prison to do that. That's very odd.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's one of those things where it's like, if you don't keep your Indian status card up to date, then you're screwed. And so one day when he gets out, he'll need it. But it's like, why are you prioritizing a killer's Indian status card to give him benefits? I mean, I know it's all about reform, but still.
It's a very odd situation. And I mean, this whole case is just so sad and tragic because it's just one of those completely random, not that any rape and murder has a reason or justification or anything, but, you know, it's just one of those completely out there, like, how does this even happen? For what reason? It's just so sad. You know, she's just a woman who's working hard to provide a good life for her family, and she's just on her way home from work and then meets this tragic end.
Yeah, and there's, like, nothing she could have done to like prevent it either, you know? Like she was doing what she did every day. She called her friend, she was screaming, she was fighting, but this asshole just took her life because he's an asshole.
And I do wonder, like, obviously not putting any blame on her or questioning her in any way, but I do wonder why she called her friend and not the police. Like, that just seems like an odd choice in that moment.
I wonder if it's like I know it's kind of like this, like, in America, especially when, like, immigrants don't really trust the police or don't really feel like they're taken seriously. And she's thinking, like, my friend can come help me or my friend can come pick me up, or maybe because she is, I don't remember how long she'd been here. Like, maybe she doesn't know, like, the emergency number. Like, because it is different in different countries. You know, like, maybe it was like, that's my speed dial, you know, like.
Yeah. Or it could be, you know, in the time that she called him, it was still just the sexual assault, or maybe he hadn't gotten to the full sexual assault part. In her mind, it's like, it's still just this creep that I met on the train. Like, maybe she doesn't think like, that it's escalating to that situation yet.
Yeah, like, she called him, like, I think this guy's following me, and then it, like, escalates. Like,
yeah.
But yeah, that is the sad and tragic case of Arcelie Laogan.
Yes. And if you guys are not familiar with the TV show See No Evil, which is where a lot of this information came from, it is a series of crimes basically that have parts of it recorded on surveillance footage. So all of the episodes focus heavily on what they see on surveillance footage, which to me every time is just so eerie, like just watching these people just going about their life, and here she is getting on this train that's going to take her to her death and she has no idea. And so all of those are just like super eerie. It is a fairly good TV show. They have some pretty ridiculous like dramatization reenactments, but you know, the information is good, and then of course you get to see the actual surveillance footage, which is interesting but super sad.
Yeah, I don't remember what the name of the one I watched. I thought it was See No Evil with Lauren Phelps, but I don't know. But the reenactments were, they were too much.
I think, I may be wrong, but I think there's also a Hear No Evil where they focus on like audio recordings. So that one may have been that, because I know there were a lot of 911 calls that were recorded.
Well, I know, like, she made, like, YouTube videos. So there's a chance, because I know they played one of her actual YouTube videos, so maybe it was that, or maybe it was just some other random show. But the reenactments, I was like, y'all need to chill.
Those, like, it really gets under my skin, because it's like, this actually happened to someone, and then you have this just, like, completely ridiculous, like, reenactment that doesn't need to be portrayed in that way. Like, I can only imagine what her family feels like watching that, you know?
With Lauren Phelps, it wasn't necessarily, like, her murder, the reenactment. It was just, like, scenes, like, fights between them or things happening or moments with her family where it's just, like, so over the top that I was like, let's take it down a notch.
Yes. So, all that being said, Courtney, what is your perk of the week?
Okay, so my perk of the week is that I have been trying to branch out on my podcast. I'm caught up on most of them that I've started, and so I decided, okay, like, let me chill on the true crime. You know, getting a little too much. So Glennon Doyle started a new podcast called We Can Do Hard Things with Glennon Doyle, and it's her and her sister, and then her wife Abby has been on there. I think I saw that her ex-husband Craig's going to be on there soon. But it's just a really great podcast where they just talk about different hard things and how to cope with them and what to do and how sometimes life just sucks. So I've been listening to that. It is really, really good. There's only a few episodes so far, but it's really amazing. I love basically everything she does. I don't think she could ever do anything wrong. And through that, I also found out that Brene Brown has a podcast. She actually has 2 podcasts that I've been listening to. And those are really good too. Unlocking Us and Dare to Lead. So I've just been filling my brain with the voices of people smarter than me. And the Brene Brown podcast is going to ruin my bank account because she talks to people about their books and I've already ordered 3. So
that's really funny because I just learned today that Brene Brown has a podcast from the Murder Squad. I think Billy Jensen talked about it at the end of that episode, which is like 3 weeks ago because I'm behind on all my podcasts, because I have a baby and I'm not working a desk job 8 hours a day to listen to podcasts. So I'll get caught up eventually, but I did just learn that today, so that's really funny. And Courtney also recommended the Glennon Doyle podcast to me. I've only listened to the first 2, I think, but it is really good. Her voice is also just like super soothing to like listen to. So it's like, it doesn't even matter what they're talking about. Like she could just like read me her grocery list and it would just like calm me down.
Yeah, it was funny because I had listened to the Brene Brown podcast for a little bit and then it got mentioned on Murder Squad and I was like, what are the odds that like these two like merge? And it was also very weird for him to refer to Dax Shepard as a podcaster and then Kristen Bell's husband, and I was like, he's an actor.
Right? You're like, he's done other things too. They never said
actor, and it's so weird that I guess some people know him as mostly a podcaster now, so that is weird. But yeah, so those are my perks of the week. Jaclyn, what is your perk of the week?
So my perk of the week is also podcast related. So we have a nice little themed perk of the week going on. So I am, as is Courtney, a huge fan of One Tree Hill. And so 3 of the actresses from that show, Hilary Burton, Sophia Bush, and Bethany Joy Lenz, who I think just goes by Joy now. Or maybe like it's both. Anyway, I know she's gone by both of those, so I'm not sure which it is currently. But they starred in One Tree Hill, and they are now doing a rewatch podcast, which I love a good rewatch podcast. I think they're fascinating and they're super interesting. So their podcast is called Drama Queens, and they just had their first episode out this week where they just kind of talked about, in general, how they came to be on the show and, a little like intro kind of thing. And then after that, they will be rewatching the entire series, which they've said none of them have at all since it's been on. They've never watched the entire series. So I think that'll be interesting to hear their reactions. And I'm excited to hear some of the like background, tidbits from one of my favorite shows. So, and also their theme song has been stuck in my head since it was released. And I literally sing it nonstop. My poor daughter, that's just my go-to when she's crying and I have to sing something and singing calms her down. And that's in my head. So she's just going to be singing that song very soon, apparently.
Yeah, I listened to the episode. I'm really excited for it. I'm a little worried Office Ladies has ruined me for all rewatch podcasts because they do such a good, thorough job.
That is true.
And Gilmore Girls, Scott Patterson, who plays Luke, is doing a rewatch podcast. And it's excellent. Don't get me wrong. I love it. He's interviewing people. But it's not the in-depth like Office Ladies is. It's just them like interviewing cast members and talking about the episode and saying their favorite parts or just little behind the scene tidbits, and it's like cool, but like Office Ladies is so in depth. I think it's ruined me for so many rewatch podcasts.
Yeah, because they don't just talk about like their experiences, like they reach out to, which I mean they also, it seems like they were a really close-knit like cast and crew, so they reach out a lot to other people who were on the show or worked for the show, and they get their background information as well. So you're getting more perspectives than just like 2 of the actors. So yeah, I agree. It's really well done. I'm interested to see how this one goes.
So well done.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll be good. I don't know. I hope they go like pretty in depth, but I know it's hard with like an hour-long show and like all that. But yeah, I'm excited.
Yep, same. So if you guys want to tell us about what podcasts you were listening to or TV shows or, anything, we're always here for conversation. You can do so on Instagram at Caffeinated Crimes Pod, on Twitter at Caff Crimes Pod, that's CAFF Crimes Pod, on Facebook at Caffeinated Crimes Podcast, or you can email us at caffeinatedcrimespod@gmail.com.
Yes, and we are still running our Apple Reviews giveaway. So once we get to 50 reviews, we'll give away a pin, a sticker, and a $10 gift card to the coffee shop of your choice. So if you could please just steal everyone you know's phone, talk to the stranger next to you on the subway and say, hey, just go here, rate, review. Thanks. Bye.
I'm sure they won't think you're weird at all. Definitely not.
Just leave some identifying information, shoot us a message, something so that we can properly give you like an entry, because a lot of the reviews we have don't have comments also, so we can't put your name in if we don't know your name. So just please do that.
And thank you to our new patron, Mary Alice, because she left us a review this week. So go be like Mary Alice and leave us a review. And thank you.
Yes, please 5 stars. Get that review up a little bit.
You guys missed Courtney's finger dance. I really wish this was a video podcast because I really liked that. Anyway. And if you also want to be like Mary Alice and join our Patreon, you can do so at patreon.com/caffeinatedcrimes. Again, thank you to our new patrons, Mary Alice and Jamie. Again, head on over there for bonus content, extra goodies, all kinds of fun stuff.
Yes, and I think that's all we have. So go have a cup of coffee.
And don't commit a crime.